Hey, what's going on, folks? My name is Sky, like the big blue sky, and today we've got an exciting topic. We're going to talk about lists. Some of the most common questions that I get are like more tactical, nitty-gritty questions around lists, like how do I track thousands and thousands of contacts as I'm pulling lists from databases and enrolling them into campaigns? How do I keep track of all those folks in an organized and simple way? But then also, how do I clean these lists at scale? Because if you've ever pulled a list from a database before, you know that that data comes out from Apollo or Zoom Info or whatever the database, it comes out in a raw format, meaning it's not always ready to just start sending prospecting emails to. You might have weird letters in the title or in the company name that you want to get rid of, and it can be really challenging, especially if you're doing it manually, to go through and try and remove all of that stuff. So I'm going to show you a couple things today. One, I'm going to show you to set up a CRM for free and all of the custom properties that you would want to add to that CRM to keep track of an outbound prospecting process. Two, I'm going to show you how to clean lists, massive lists in 5 to 10 minutes, a super high leverage way. And I'm going to give you a tool that we built that you can automate a lot of that list cleaning for you. And then three, I'm going to show you how to manage this. If you've got a team, I'll show you how we do it in a project management tool, how we keep track of all the contacts and all that stuff. So you can just continue to rinse and repeat this process really efficiently and just keep track of everything as you go. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a sheet that has all of the different custom properties that you would want to add into a CRM. And so the way that this is laid out is actually, it's very specific for HubSpot. So if you don't currently have a CRM, I would recommend just jumping on the free version of HubSpot. You're going to get 10 custom properties that you can add. And so we've got 11 in here just as really simple properties that you can add. But the first 10 you'll be able to add, and it's really all you need to track and report on an outbound prospecting process in your CRM. But if you got the money for it, I know it's a lot, $20 a month for HubSpot Sales Starter. If you get that tier of their products, you get an unlimited number of properties that you can add. So if you're just getting started, you really need to be budget conscious. You can start with HubSpot and it's totally free. But if you want or you need more than 10 properties and you don't need all of the other fancy automation, I would just go with their Sales Starter and it's going to give you everything that you need. But outside of that, if you already have a CRM, this is still going to be very applicable to you. It's going to give you all the properties that you need to add. It's just this sheet here is a little bit more oriented towards HubSpot, and it is linked below in the comments here or in the bio of this video, whatever it's called. So you can just take this and use it as a guide after this video. So, okay. The way that this is structured, we've got the label. This is the actual property name. This is the object type. So in HubSpot, you've got different types of properties that you can add. All of our properties are contact level properties. It just makes it a lot easier for us to track things. We've got a description of the property and then the field type, and this is the type of property. So is it a single line text? Is it a drop-down select? It's going to tell you here. So especially if you use HubSpot, this is going to be really easy for you to start to fill out. And so I'm going to briefly run through all of these properties, what they mean and why they're important, and then we'll continue on here. And so this first one is the LinkedIn URL. And what's funny is that HubSpot actually doesn't come with a lot of native properties for these social profiles. And so we add a property for the LinkedIn URL. This is for their personal profile. It's a single line text property, so it'll just hold the URL for that contact. Makes it really easy to just click in and take a look at their profile if you need to. Do the same thing for the company LinkedIn URL. And then from there, we've got a little bit more sales process specific properties. And so the first one is TOC content. TOC for us, it stands for targeted outbound campaigns. And the TOC content, you could think about this like a barcode that indicates what campaign a contact was in. So when you pull a list and you know, hey, I want to upload all these contacts into XYZ campaign and then these contacts into A, B, and C campaign. If you're doing that over and over and over again and you don't have a system for it, it becomes really confusing to try and trace back what campaign a contact was a part of. And so this property here, once we've taken a list through the entire cleaning process, we will add custom properties onto the spreadsheet before we upload it into the CRM, and we will assign that barcode for this property as we upload it so that we can always keep track of which campaign they were a part of. So we'll get to this in a little bit, but just as an example here, this is obviously a really small list, but what we've got here are the custom properties that were added. So we've got TOC content, and then in each row, you would put the name of the campaign, whatever naming convention you use, you'll add that into each row before you upload it, and then everything will get tracked appropriately for each individual contact and what campaign they're a part of. The next property we have is the sales stage. And so this one obviously is going to vary based on your sales process. So you might have to do some critical thinking here and consider whether or not this is applicable to you. And if not, what changes would you make? But I found that the way that it's defined here is pretty broadly applicable. You just might have to bend and flex on some of the definitions of the terms. And ultimately, the definitions that we have here also might not work for you, but these are just terms and they have no meaning except for the meaning that you attach to it. And so you can totally change the definitions here based on what you need. But the way that we use this, TOC contact, this is a contact that is in our CRM, but has not been enrolled into an outbound prospecting campaign. TOC enrolled, this is a contact that has been enrolled into a prospecting campaign, but we haven't talked to them yet, or they haven't converted, but they've been placed into a campaign before. TOC connected, this is a lot more relevant if you're using the phone as a prospecting channel. And so let's say you've got contacts in a campaign, you're calling them, your salespeople are calling them, they connect with them. The prospect is somewhat interested, but they haven't converted yet. You wouldn't want to keep that prospect labeled as TOC enrolled, because maybe then you go to re-engage with the list of contacts that you've prospected before and they didn't respond to you, and you're already having this ongoing conversation with this prospect here, but because they're not marked appropriately, they're going to get re-enrolled into some more generic prospecting campaign that you might have, whereas you want to have these folks set off to the side so that they don't get put into any other campaigns, and so that you've got like a warmer list of prospects that, if you need to book some meetings, you can jump back into that connected list, and it's a lot easier to get the conversions from here. Next, we have SAL. This stands for Sales Accepted Lead. The way that we define that is that it's just a meeting has been booked on the calendar. SQL is a meeting has been held in the process, so the prospect showed up for the meeting. The quotient of these obviously is going to be your show rate. Then we've got the opportunity. So this is like an offer has been made, they're qualified, we're sending them a proposal. Then we've got closed won and dead. And now from here, we've got, for most of these properties, we have date picker properties that are associated with them as well, so that we can track the length of the sales cycle and for each stage. And so here we've got the enrollment date. And so this is the date that a prospect was placed into an outbound prospecting campaign. This is important for a couple reasons, right? Imagine you've got a list and you're trying to figure out, let's say you prospected them in January and you want to prospect some contacts that are in your CRM. You want to prospect them in February, but you don't want to obviously hit the same contacts that you already just prospected in a campaign and they didn't respond. You don't want to hit them again immediately the next month. You want to have a little bit more time in between before you re-engage with contacts. And so having this enrollment date as a property makes it really easy for you to filter out who are the contacts that I've literally just hit up versus who are the ones that I can re-engage with. SAL day, this is the date that the conversion happened or that they booked a meeting with you at the top of the funnel. SQL day is the date that the meeting held. Opportunity day is the day you sent them a proposal. Close one day is the date that they signed and paid. And then from there, we've got reason dead. You can make these whichever ones you want, but I find that these are the basic ones that fit in most use cases. And then finally, we've got the origination or the original source. And so did they come from a cold calling campaign, an email campaign, a LinkedIn message? Obviously, you can add whatever works for you here, but these are just very basic properties that you can start with. Okay, so now we've got a CRM. We've got custom properties to track everything. I pulled a list from a database and it's really dirty. It needs some cleaning. So how do you clean it from there? What I'm going to show you here is our list scrubbing toolkit. And this is also linked in the comments down below. So you can just hop in there and make a copy of it and then use it as your own. And then what we've got, so we've got different properties that you would pull from a database for each contact, right? So first name, last name, job title, email, company name. And next to each one of these is a formula to clean those potential properties. And so you can see here that they cover quite a bit of different scenarios. And so basically the way that this works is like, depending on the property that you want to clean in your sheet, you're able to take this formula, copy and paste it, drag it down, and it's going to automatically clean like 80 to 90% of the problems that you will run into when you pull data from a database. And so let's take a look at an example. We've got an example sheet here. And as you can see, for company name, we've got Strat Type LLC. let's say I was doing a cold email campaign and I wanted to pull the company name in as a personalization token. And it was like, hey, Moisey, I was taking a look at Strat Type LLC. That would be a dead giveaway that this was completely automated. And we want to make our personalization tokens as conversational as possible. So we want to get rid of all of this LLC, Inc., PA type of stuff. And so what I can do here is I can go to my company name wash tool. I can copy and paste this entire formula in a column to the left. As you can see, it automatically gets rid of it. Drag it down, and it's going to clean up 80 to 90% of this stuff for you. And then what I would do from there is I'd make another column. I'd paste it without the source formatting. So I use a Mac, so that's Command-Shift-V. And then we've got our company name. And boom, and then I would just delete these two. And now we've got our cleaned column. Of course, you might have to go through here on a bigger list and manually make some changes. And I would still recommend manually reviewing these after you run it through the cleaning function, just to make sure that nothing was missed. But this will save you 80 to 90% of your cleaning time. So the next example I'll show you is the title, just to kind of show you the power here and how this can potentially work for you. So again, like if we're referencing their title in an email and I'm like, hey, I saw you were the Chief Executive Officer, we probably wouldn't say that. You can say CEO, but going through and manually changing this stuff, it can take a lot of time. So instead, you can use the wash tool here. And so you just take this function and you paste it in a column to the left, and it's just going to automatically clean all this stuff for you. And then again, I would take this, paste it without the source formatting, delete these other two columns, and you are good to go. Squeaky clean. So, okay, now we've got a CRM, we've got custom properties, we've cleaned our list, we've got all of our custom properties added here to our list, and we're ready to upload this into our CRM. How do we go about like repeating this process, tracking it, and just having it be almost like hands-off if you're a business owner? How do you just like empower your team to do this and track it in a really simple way? We use a toggle plan for that, and we use this like Kanban board format. And so as you can see on the top here, we've got each step of our list cleaning process. And as we go, our virtual assistants, they will go through and they will complete each task, and they will drag it to each stage as it makes it into each new stage of the list cleaning process. But within here, we'll change the name of the list. And then we've also got a bunch of resources for them, so they can pretty much operate on their own to continue rinse and repeating this list process. And so we will add a link to the Google Sheet where we've got the list. We'll document the source. Did this come from Apollo or Zoom Info? And then again, we've got this same process here that's documented up top. We've got it documented here. And this is important for a different reason. And especially if you are like a business owner, or you are, a biz dev manager, and you are overseeing and managing these campaigns. One thing that you might have run into before is you're like, okay, I want to be able to have enough emails for the next 2 weeks. And if I'm sending, 10 emails a day as a really simple number over the next 2 weeks, 10 emails times 10 working days for 2 weeks, that's 100 emails, right? So if I just pulled 100 emails from the database, I would find out at the last minute that, oh crap, I don't have enough emails for the rest of the week. Because when you actually go through your cleaning process, a lot of those contacts, they don't make it through. They don't have valid emails. They don't actually fit the filters that you set in your database. All of these reasons why. And so like there's a lot of attrition that happens from the database to being ready for prospecting. And so what we found is super helpful is as our team goes and they clean the list and they move it from stage to stage, they will keep track of how many contacts are left at each stage. And so if it's, I pulled 1,000 contacts and then I checked to the locations and the titles, and I had 900 contacts, and on and on and on down at each stage. And what will happen is you're going to be able to start to average this out after enough contacts have been pulled and enough lists have been pulled. You'll be able to make much more accurate projections, because you'll see that if I want 100 contacts, typically 32% of my list isn't even workable when I pull it from the database. So I really need to pull 132 so I can make those more accurate projections from an ops standpoint because I'm tracking this stuff. And so this might not match your list process exactly, so you'll just have to think about what your process looks like and make those manual changes. But I found tracking this is really, really helpful so that we can just operationally be a lot smoother about the campaign cadence that we have internally and for our clients. From there, we also have a lot more in-depth SOPs for each of these stages. We have like video overviews that train the team, and we have a learning management system that we bring the team into. And so we linked all of that stuff here. So if they have questions, they can go to the SOPs and they can really be self-sufficient. We also remind them what are the custom properties to add to the sheet afterwards if they are a fit, and then the custom properties to add if they're not a fit. And just as like a side pro tip here, we still will keep all of the contacts that are not a fit so that we can suppress them from the database later on, because like a lot of these databases, they have limits on the number of exports that you can pull. So if you are constantly pulling the same contacts that are not a fit, you're wasting credits. And so we will keep those contacts that aren't a fit for us. We will mark them appropriately, and then we will save them aside in our CRM so that we can upload them as a suppression so we don't keep pulling bad fit contacts. And you do the same way here in the example sheet. You see how we've got sales stage is dead, reason dead, not a good fit. So the only other thing you would add here is like reason dead. And let's say these last three weren't a good fit. I would just make their sales stage dead, reason dead. If we take a look here, not a good fit. You have to make sure that these exactly match the nomenclature and the naming convention in your CRM. But if this is exactly how it's laid out in your CRM, it'll match back to that. And I would also assign these here. And so you upload them, you've got everybody tracked. These dead folks aren't going to make it into a campaign. You know why they're dead. And now you can use these contacts later as a part of your suppression process to make sure you're not wasting credits from your database. So that is all I got for you guys today. Hopefully that was helpful. All the links to these resources are down below. It's totally free. I just want you guys to be successful with your cold outreach. So if you have questions, you're having trouble implementing any of this stuff, please let me know. Send me a comment on, or send me a message on LinkedIn, drop a comment on the video below. I'm more than happy to help you. I wish you the best of luck, and I will see you in the next video.